And we are live. Welcome to the first episode of the Mesmerise podcast 2021. What you've heard is our band's newest single for parody of the the Nirvana song Breathe. So, as you guys can see, there is a link to it. So please do follow that. However, today we have the biggest guest I've actually ever had on the show, and I am so happy to present to Mr. Mark Hunter from Chimaira.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm perfectly fine. Sorry, I'm still completely baffled by the fact that we've gotten so many generous donations throughout this stream. I'm just taken aback, to be honest.
I can imagine. That's great to hear.
And yeah, I'm also extremely happy to have you as a guest as well. I mean, you're quite legendary as to a lot of metal musicians, including myself and many of the people in the chat watching this.
I appreciate it, man. I'm happy to be here and glad to be a part of the whole thing. And I'm certainly grateful for the respect and the support from everybody out there.
Thank you so much. And yeah, but don't worry, I'm not going to do too much hustling for this.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a difficulty with the connection and hearing you slightly. It's like cutting out for me, so I didn't catch the last thing you said.
I was just saying that I'm not going to, spend the entire podcast just complimenting you.
Oh, no, I feel you. I understood. Got it. Thank you.
But yes, so Mark Hunter. So let's. So for some reason, I don't know how to start this. I generally don't get have this like this. So yeah, I'm going to pull myself a bit together here.
Just pretend that.
So Mark,
just pretend I'm naked and you'll be fine.
Sorry, mate.
I was gonna say, just pretend I'm naked and you will be fine.
I'm sorry, I can only get so aroused.
There you go.
Yes, I actually I remember I found you completely by chance on Twitch once. I thought, it's Mark from Chimaira. This is amazing. So, watched you, etc., and then our paths kind of crossed again with Metalhead when you raided his channel, and I think you got him to play Goodbye Horses by I forgot the name of the group now, and then he started doing the whole Buffalo Bill thing. That was fantastic. It was really funny. It was fantastic. The entire experience seeing that. Oh, Mark knows him, and now he's playing Liverpool. This is great.
Absolutely, the Twitch community is great. I think that fact that you can wind up finding out that so many cool artists are out there, musicians are out there. I had no idea half the people that I listen to are on Twitch, or I just keep discovering new people all the time as well. And then raiding is probably one of my favorite things to do. And you discover a lot of new talent that way. You meet a lot of cool people that way. And sometimes you just have a lot of laughs that way as well. So, and luckily we hit the trifecta with Ed, and happy to be here, support his stream doing that, and just keep giving back to the community that gives to me as well. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, Twitch really has turned into a musician's community, especially during these current certain times. Which, all in all, in itself, is just amazing. Because I think over the course of a few months, you've just seen so many musicians jump in here and just find such a welcoming community. They're just so helpful, so friendly, and so nice. Of course, you get some people that are nasty, but that's with any community.
Without a doubt, you can't find it. You can't go anywhere without a group of somebody trying to ruin the party.
Exactly. So, which as a veteran of the music industry, have you what is it? What's your favorite thing about Twitch?
You know, the thing I think I like about it is the spontaneity of it. You can be you can have like a routine and almost like a formula for a show, and but at the same time it's very spontaneous, and like how it's live and interactive. And I don't know, like when I'm trying to describe it to people, I always think of it as a like a next evolution of reality TV in a weird way, where the viewers can be, you know, a part of the show in some weird way, where they're interacting with you. So I think that's pretty sweet. Interaction. Answer the question.
Because you don't like YouTube is a fantastic like YouTube was kind of precursor to Twitch, but it was all pre-recorded. Everything was sort of like quite well produced. Like you could see, I, I can't remember who I read an interview about, but they saying how the problem with something like YouTube is you have to be perfect all the time. The second you do something wrong, you'll immediately get ousted for it.
Hmm. Yeah,
While with something like
yeah. Yeah, no, the Twitch is a lot more raw. Of course, the YouTube has that polished vibe, and the content creators, all not all of them, but they all have many of them have kind of like this host mentality where it's like, hey, welcome to da 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 da, we're here, do, and they do these like quippy things. I don't know. I don't get that from the Twitch. It seems a little more raw, and has to be because it's live. So that's fun. That's a fun thing about it. Cutting out
it
quite a
is what
bit
makes it better.
in your
It's very
vocals.
human.
When you're speaking, you're cutting out quite a bit. I don't know if your chat room is
Oh,
mentioning that as well, but kind of
am I cutting out, guys?
it's very difficult for me to hear you when you're asking questions. It's almost like there's a compressor on. So like when you talk, you're like, I did. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I think I know what it is. The
it's definitely, it sounds like a Wi-Fi connection thing.
a little bit. How's this?
I mean, I can hear you, but we'll see. When you start talking like with a big sentence, it tends to have a bit of a rough bit.
Yeah, because I've not got anything. Oh, actually, let me check something. And this. No, nothing.
Might have helped.
Okay, so yeah, all I did was boost the signal to Kingdom Come, really.
I think it's going to be a connection thing. Like it seems like it started cutting for us once you went live. So maybe having dual Discord and Streamlabs is making things a little fuzzy.
Maybe. So I do apologise that the audio is not as bright as it generally would be.
Yeah, we can continue. I might have to have you repeat yourself a couple times.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Where were we again?
We were just talking about how Twitch is raw compared to.
Yeah, so it's very much like almost like you've got actually scratched that. I've had something, and it's just like no, it's not good. It's not a good comparison. So I'll just leave it at that. But asking a little bit more about you, Mark, in regards to music. Do you have any musical plans at all?
Plans?
Plans, music plans?
Nothing at the moment. Obviously, a big part of Twitch for me was just getting back into music. Um, Starting with just listening to it, a lot of it. And yeah, when being a professional musician, I always kind of equate it to being like a chef or something. Like, let's say I own a restaurant and I specialize in steak, and I'm at my restaurant for 18 hours a day. The last thing I want to do is leave my restaurant and go eat a steak somewhere else. So I missed out on a lot of music, while I was as a professional artist, missed out on a lot of bands. So kind of use Twitch as a place to discover new music, hanging out with the community. They're always suggesting new bands for me to listen to. I'm also rediscovering a lot of music, and which then led me to practicing more, and then writing and recording songs, even though they're like joke songs. A lot of that's helps me get like remember how to even do it, like using the software and shit like that. So it's been fun, and I don't have any plans. I just kind of like to go with the flow. The minute I start making a plan is like the minute I like very good at making plans but not executing them. Right, so it's just better for things to spontaneously combust.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I've only started playing. I've always played guitar for several years. I've never taken it very serious. I always used it simply as a just simply as a writing tool. However, since starting Twitch, I've been practicing a lot more. People have been pointing out some of my shitty technique. I've just generally gotten better. That's also improved my songwriting. I'm generally more happy at doing being both an instrumentalist and a vocalist.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same thing happens with me. I point out my own flaws though, because I'm immediately noticed how shitty I'm playing right away. So yeah, it's good that the community will also be kind enough to let you know how poorly you're doing as well. So that always helps.
I don't think a lot of people are particularly aggressive about it. I think most people are actually quite kind when it comes to it.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
more like yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I thought I was getting a tip on how to sort out the doubling audio, but no, nothing. My bad.
It's better now that you've raised the volume.
Yeah, I definitely need to double check that in the future. Thanks for pointing it out though. Yeah, um, with this, what was I gonna say? Yeah. Yeah, but, going back to just how great of a community Twitch can be, I don't think anyone's necessarily nasty or harsh in most situations anyway.
Yeah, no, I haven't had anyone come in except you get the occasional troll, but they're luckily the mods are there to take care of it all. I have. Hello?
Oh, yeah, now you're back. You're
Oh,
back.
weird. Yeah, no, just joke songs. It's just whatever comes to mind, man. I don't have like a formula. It's just me being silly. Literally pulling it out of my ass. It's nothing pre-planned. It's just it's all my music though. Like I don't know where it comes from. It's just all inside and you pull it out and that's that.
I mean, that's where the best ideas come from, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't have the background or knowledge to just sit there and like think about what I'm doing and theorize and put notes on a piece of paper and be like, let's discuss the theory of this and what's going on. No, I just it's all feel for me.
But that's what I find so fantastic. I find it is very highly underrated. I had I once had a guitar teacher who taught me a very important lesson once. He's had 2 kids. Well, he has 2 kids, and they're both trained on a modern instrument and a classical instrument. One of them leans more towards the classical instrument, while the other one leans more to the modern one. And both his children always argue about, "Oh, this is better and this is better." And because the father is very much a middle point, he's able to point out what is the was the benefit of doing both. So doing something like classical, generally you'll learn how to sight read. You're almost completely perfect at what you write and at what you play and perform. While when you do something like a modern instrument, you're quite, modern trained as such, like electric guitar as an example, you're more inclined to improvise, which is something that someone with a classical background generally can't, while vice versa. I think a lot of like being able to write through feel is something that's very underrated. Um,
Yeah, I have no idea how those people do all of that stuff. I don't know, the training makes you completely different mindset, and um it can also be it can also hinder you, right? Because then, like, if you're theory dudes tend to think too much, overthink things, where untrained ear tend to make mistakes, I guess you will. The theory dudes are quick to criticize, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because just the audience that cares.
exactly, and it all comes down to what you're happy with doing and what you're comfortable working with as a musician. Because why do something that you don't enjoy, especially something that is art related?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, correct.
No, I do personally. I get into quite a few discussions with people who say, "Oh, you need to know theory, etc., etc." It's like you don't need to. You don't necessarily need to know theory. Some people work better without knowing it.
I have no idea anything about theory at all. Couldn't tell you.
Oh,
Yet,
you have certainly written
yeah, I
some
have enough
very.
professional stuff out there, and it's like, why do you need to know it? It's just I can tell you what half the notes I'm hitting are. Don't even know how to tune a guitar properly sometimes, unless I had a device doing it for me.
But I mean, from that, you have been in art a very successful musician.
Right. So, which proves the point that theory doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd say that is. Yeah, it completely depends on how you work. The way I see it, at least, is it's how you work as a musician, as an artist, as anything art related comes down to how you best work with that, with the tools that you have. Some people have the worst gear possible, and they can create a great record. Morello comes as an example, and then you've got other guys who have like thousands and thousands of dollars of gear and are able to create great songs like that. But the other person, vice versa, are not able to use that equipment, and even though it's amazing, might sound terrible in their hands.
Absolutely. I think it's the player, always is. Dimebag is somebody I think of on those Pantera videos. He jams on a little ukulele, still sounds like Pantera. Um, just got that feel. It's like it's within him, right? And the musician themselves. I think like the true talented people can pick up any instrument and just play and create and make something. I think that's just their mindset is creative. Um, some people are just gear heads. They just want the best gear, but they really don't know what to do with it. and they think that if they have the best, that that will make them better or make them the best. But in reality, uh, I don't know. They're just not as talented internally, right? They have to work harder at it.
Yeah, no, I'd say I definitely agree with that. Yeah, the best gear does not necessarily make you the best musician.
Correct. Yeah. It, and I just think it's the players and the passion behind the players and the natural talent.
Exactly. It's music. It is such an expressional thing. I mean, look at the amount of people from completely different backgrounds that can create all this different kind of music. Whether you're from a poor background, whether you're from a rich background, you can create music in some capacity. I think every person has some kind of musical talent in some capacity. Maybe not necessarily in the direction that they like listening to. Like someone who likes metal might not be a great metal musician. They might be a fantastic pop artist, and vice versa.
Yeah, I think that the genres doesn't matter, you know. If you just whatever you're into, you're into. Music should be suggestive. I think that a lot of times they people make music a little bit too tribal, where it's almost like a football game or something, where what you don't like my team, your team sucks or whatever, that kind of mentality. I think that happens a lot when you're younger, and but at the same time, I think what's cool about the music community is it also brings everyone together, and then the natural talent. I don't know if I agree with everybody having natural talent, man. I know there's a lot of people that think they can sing out there and they're just awful. We've all watched American Idol or shows like that. There's some
Oh
people
no,
that just
I'm
don't
not
have
saying
natural
everyone has
talent.
natural talent.
Yeah.
I think some people have a natural talent. Other people just need to work very hard at having some form of talent in regards to art.
Sure. And I think then there's some people that should probably just not try. Like they've tried and tried and tried and it's just not going to happen and they just keep going for it anyway. Those are the American Idol types, I guess I'm going after, right?
Yeah,
They're like they're just not good no matter how hard they practice.
but I
That
think a
happens
lot of those people.
unfortunately too. That's when they should stick to being an accountant or something.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their strengths.
Exactly.
That's that. But I think a lot of those people that you get on things like American Idol and any of those shows, they tend to run off quite upset because like, "Oh, you're not good enough for this." They're the kind of people that probably they could probably improve if they actually could receive, uh,
A constructive criticism.
constructive criticism.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Understood. Good point.
Again, it's all down to the mindset and how dedicated you are to learn a particular skill, 'cause that's what being a musician is. It's a skill.
Yeah, I think so. But I do think people have a natural talent though that they're just born with, right? Like why how is it possible that some people just know how to do things? That's weird to me. I think that's DNA. You not think that people just
Yeah, I mean,
know
that
how to
that
do
definitely
stuff?
makes
I agree. I mean, do you agree with me that like some people just are born with a natural talent that they don't really have to work very hard at?
I think there's something in everyone's brain that makes them tick in a particular manner, which then almost precursors them to be good at something in particular by just essentially picking it up. I think everyone has that one particular skill that they can just pick up and just go.
Yeah, I'm still looking to find out which one what mine is.
I mean, I have no comment with that. I mean, I can just simply go
I
back
just
and
mess
be
with
like, "Mark, you're an amazing
No,
musician.
no, no.
This is
I'm not looking. I'm
incredible."
not fishing for a compliment. Being an ass.
But no, I mean, besides music, you've also dabbled in film as well.
Sort of. I was not really so part of it as much as I was asked to be a subject of that. You know what I mean? Um, I would like to be a part of like the production process of it all, making music for it or stuff like that. But as far as being a subject, that I have a lot of experience with. You know, with Chimaira has a ton of documentaries, and then I was a part of a mental health documentary called Down Again, and so I've kind of learned how to be that open book for a long time when the cameras are around. Um, I think it's important to give the audience a good look into the reality of things. Back then, anyway, this was we're talking 20 years ago when the cameras started rolling on us. So a little bit. I mean, reality TV existed, but not like it does now. And with band documentaries and DVDs, there wasn't much out there in the sense that they were showing everybody the ins and outs of it and the actual real personal vibes, you know, the human element. There existed a lot of band documentaries that showed bands successful and partying and big concerts and everything. We hadn't seen much of anything where it was a bunch of just normal dudes struggling to get by and dealing with personal issues just to, you know, put an album out, things like that nature. So we thought that was very cool. But it also takes a lot to put it all out there, right? You have to be honest and not tense up when a camera's around. So, but of course, you're young and a camera is around you at first, you start acting really goofy. That was the first thing that we ever noticed with our band is we all just had oh, there the camera's on, you have to ham it up. So you kind of notice in our DVD, like our first DVD, like everyone's acting really goofy in the beginning because we do the cameras around and then like as things progress, everyone's a little bit more themselves and a little bit more uh no one's hamming it up anymore by the end of it. So but yeah, documentaries are cool to be a part of. They would be cool to be a part of making in terms of being on the other side of the lens now. Because golly, I've had hours and hours of myself documented. Luckily, those things exist and they have, seem to have helped a lot of people, both musicians that are aspiring to get on the tour and also with the living vicariously, what's it like being out on tour? And the mental health documentary seemed to help quite a bit, all sorts of lights and aspects. So I'm grateful to be a part of them in that regard. A lot of interesting people I got a chance to work with too that are talented in making all these films.
That is actually really interesting in relation 'cause it's so I've never really thought of someone who's part of a project such as a documentary as a subject. That does make a lot of sense, and it does actually broaden it quite a bit in relation to, uh, that participation of that person in there in relation to production and so on and so forth. I mean, how were you as you said, you've had the Chimera documentaries, which how you're part of those is quite self-explanatory. The mental health one, how were you approached to be part of that exactly?
Sure. So yeah, the director and filmmaker Nick Cavalier has a history of making documentaries kind of about the hero's journey type vibe, right? Where taking somebody that's kind of in a struggle and seeing how they get through it, a la Star Wars. Um, but yeah, he tends to work with people that he's been around or that has influenced him in a specific way. And he grew up listening to our band, Chimera, and the Dehumanizing Process documentary was a big influence on him. And we met later in life at a mental health festival, and we were part of a panel, and we just kind of sat in a room with, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 people, and we shared similar stories of using creativity as a tool to battle uh, darker times, right? Um, so like we, excuse me, shared stories like, hey, I did this, or excuse me, I just ate food before this, and now I got the indigestion burps. But anyway, I digress. We also took questions from the panel, the people that were in attendance and whatnot. Afterwards, Nick reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, it'd be cool if we did something like that on film, where we discuss how you use music and photography and whatnot to kind of combat darker times." And then we had also been planning our reunion show, and I thought that that tied in nicely together, because that too was a story of overpowering all of us, overpowering like a mental block of getting around whatever it was that was preventing us from being friends, the band, because we had broken up and whatnot. So I thought combining all that stuff together would be really fantastic. Of course, I was a little selfish, like, man, I'm going to be able to get all this Chimaira live footage filmed professionally and in 4K. I'm glad you're doing this documentary, dude, but sign me up just for that alone. Like that's cool stuff to have. So yeah, it was nice to be a part of, and the filmmaker Nick really went all out and got it put into various film festivals, and I got a chance to see it on a big screen in Tower City. Part of Tower City is a location in Ohio where they have a big the Cleveland Film Festival. So it's like it's a mall type venue with 20, 30 different theaters in it, and the whole weekend is a big festival, and all the I guess like a smaller version of, Cannes or something, right? Much smaller, but film deals are made there, and people fly in from all over the world, and it is a pretty big deal. So it was surreal to sit in a movie theater, packed, watching a documentary about myself without any fans. These were all complete strangers that had no idea who the band was, who I was. So that was really, really weird. Because you expect it to be like, I'm going to be in there with a bunch of fans, right? So afterwards, it was some of the things that stick with you are like a mother came up to me and said, I really enjoyed the film. I finally feel like I understand my son after all this time. You know, that's a heavy comment to have thrown at you. Um, so goes a little bit beyond music, right? And the self gratification, like, oh, cool, got my live song filmed. It's like way beyond that. That film did a lot more than that. So very, very happy to be a part of it, and I'm glad that things like that exist, and that people like Nick exist, and he's constantly making documentaries that deal with people that struggle in unique ways.
Exactly, and thank you so much for going into that in relation to this. It's, I mean, that must have been really bizarre for you in relation to, as you said, uh, that they weren't fans. These were people who had no idea who you or the band were. So you're almost like a newcomer to a different industry altogether.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. It's kind of weird thinking about just movies in general. Like, let's say, like, to put it into a perspective that might make sense to anybody out there that's not not in my shoes. Let's say that you loved this one like horror movie, right? And You wanted everyone in your family to watch it at Christmas time, so you brought it over and sat everyone down. And the whole family's there, like 50 people. And you're like, all right, let's watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre and see how everyone likes that. How you would feel internally is how it felt sitting in there. And that's like the kind of like the situation. Like, man, what is everyone going to think of this? It just does not feel right. It's all heavy metal. There's screaming and saying the F word every other word, and like you just don't know how it's gonna play out in a theater like that, right? It's adults that aren't metalheads, so it wound up working really, really well though.
And that's amazing. I mean, yeah, again, it's, as you said, a completely different audience to what you've been used to. What because I've dabbled in film personally a little bit on the production side, like sound recording, being a runner, etc., etc. And what I found very interesting is even in the more like indie, more independent productions, there's still a lot of money that changes hands,
Hmm.
especially things that happen to make it onto um, on a festival market. I mean, it's insane. The budget, I think, for an indie movie, like a full featured movie, indie production, is anything from $200,000 to I think 9 mil.
Sure.
That's like 7 9 mil seems to be average, which to me is incredible. Like with and the same with music, really. Movies have their own like niche world that not everyone knows about.
Yeah, budgets can get out of control really quick. I'm not sure what Nick spent on Down Again, but I know it wasn't cheap. But he also, a lot of the filmmakers can get creative and smart, and you learn cool tricks that way. For example, I didn't know, but in our hometown, we have rental locations for production and film equipment. If you rent them on a Friday, you get charged for the Friday rate, and then you can return them on Monday. But you don't get charged on a Saturday and Sunday. So
Ah,
you start making your plans like, okay, all right, well, the weekend, the gigs on the weekend, so he can rent all this gear for the weekend, and then make sure we try to set up all the other important shoots weekend related, so that way he gets more time out of the camera and things of that nature. So the shit can be very expensive, but you can also find ways to finagle it to your benefit. um I know, for example, when we did a Chimaira documentary for like Coming Alive, um it's a lot of money because we're bringing the filmmaker all around the world with us, and that's its own separate budget, right? We have a guy that he's got to get the right equipment. He has to have a flight with us, room and board, per diem, um, money to edit it, which is going to take weeks, if not months, especially a 2 to 3 year documentary that we were trying to pull off. Twice we did this now. So yeah, it gets costly, upwards of 60 to 100,000. That's just talking like one or two guys coming along to hang out with a band. So, um, that stuff is not cheap, and either is record production. Of course, as time has progressed, things have gotten cheaper. Right? Anyone can afford a free software program now, but back in the day, your only option was Pro Tools, and you had to pay for it unless you
mm.
knew how to crack it. And you had to buy the interface to get it to work, and all of those things. And Final Cut was your only option for video editing software. Now you can get an app on your phone and edit it and make a movie. Like, it's insane. So it's definitely gotten a lot easier and a lot more affordable to make things.
it's everything's kind of gotten smaller as well. Because I'm sure during your time when a music production film, you needed warehouses just to fit some of the basic things now, you can just slip on your computer, done, sorted. I mean, as
Yeah.
a very crude example, my live setup otherwise is literally this, the amp and a guitar. I can fit that into the car 4 times.
Yeah, you have more than I do. I have a guitar that plugs into a cable. Now it just goes right into my computer. So everything's in the computer. It is wild. Yeah, the days of lugging heavy gear are no longer necessary. I mean, you can still do it if you like it. That's the look you want, but no longer necessary. And yeah, that is convenient. And like I said, you can do everything in your phone. You can write songs on your phone that have. I mean, people are making professional music on their iPads. Definitely, times have changed.
Exactly, as we were saying earlier on with, in relation to tools, whichever tools you use, as long as you can use it and you can get a good result, it doesn't matter. And it's really how it's just all moved around. I've grown up with a parent who had a recording studio at the beginning of the digital age. So still had the analog, like big analog desks and the audio interface and the Windows 98 computer with Pro Tools and so on. And now I have very much the same kind of quality studio in front of me
Right.
for like a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, this
As
is
it's
so cool.
so actually this goes into the raffle. The raffle at the moment, there's 2 during the stream. So one is you can win 1 of 5 copies of our band's EP, Dance for Messiah. There's only 100 printed. We're not gonna print anymore, so you can win 1 of 5. To enter, you input exclamation mark raffle, and you're entered. We will be doing the giveaway at, what's the timer say now? In about 24 minutes. After that, we've got Mark, who is generously donating for the charity a signed copy of a Chimaira record. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a Infection Digipack CD and then a brand new Age of Hell vinyl that is not even out yet. So
Oh, you are really treating us. Thank you so much.
absolutely.
So don't forget, guys, raffle. Uh, yes. So the next thing that I was going to ask is, I have joined you on a few streams before, just as a like a background listening, as an audience member, some might
Sure. Yeah.
say. So I know that you're relatively fond of conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
and I think I've only been on one stream talking about conspiracy theories. I think you quickly brushed over about mushrooms in relation to religion and society, which so I was only gonna be in the stream for 10 minutes. I think I stayed for 40 because you started talking about it. I thought, "Oh, this is really interesting. I really want in on that."
It's funny. Yeah, man. We have a good time over there. I It's just something I've been into for a long time. I think that a lot of people just when it's easy to fall down a rabbit hole, right, of just nonsense. But sometimes you land on some things that are just like fascinating, and mushrooms and their history in our society are one that are very intriguing, and they could talk about mushrooms for an hour and if not 10, and hypothesize, or at least talk about others that have hypothesized of their role in society and mental health. Now you're seeing a lot of health studies being done with psilocybin and depression, and they're using psilocybin to treat terminally ill people that are having difficulty coping with the fact that they're no longer going to be living with us. So that's fascinating. That's where we are in a modern time. I think what's interesting though is it's called the stoned it's called the stoned ape theory, where that's where consciousness itself derives from, right? We are the monkey, primitive monkey, roaming the grasslands looking for food, and we stumble upon mushrooms as we're foraging, and next thing you know, we're thinking about fucking geometry. Why? So it kind of puts some, makes more sense of what happened in this gap of our consciousness, right? Like, it has not been explained in our historical record. We go from like 0 to 11 in, hey, we've made a weapon out of a stick, to now we are making pyramids really, really fast in comparison to how fast, or how long our species itself has been around. So, as the forests start to burn and the monkey is forced to go into the grasslands, they're going to find other foods, and next thing you know, they're going to be thinking about how to make a live streaming platform where people talk about nonsense over the internet.
Do you think the beginnings of
Do I think what?
do you think the beginnings of Twitch started with just a bunch of guys just doing mushrooms? As I'm like, dude,
Twitch, absolutely.
what about YouTube but live?
Silicon Valley, look it up. Honestly, this isn't conspiracy at all. Look up, just Google Silicon Valley and microdosing. That is huge. They love mushrooms, they love acid, they love all psychedelics. They're microdosing daily in Silicon Valley. That is like the thing to do. So I 100% think that mushrooms were involved in the creation of stuff like this. I'm not even like this like crazy psychedelic guy. Like, I haven't done psychedelics in a long time. So, but I just think that they're fascinating, and the history of them are fascinating. You can see all through culture, Christmas, Santa Claus, um, Catholic religion, the Catholic Church in the Vatican is a giant pine cone, which is in reference to the pineal gland, is what is activated with psychedelics. It just goes on and on and on. I will, like, we don't want to turn your stream into the magic mushroom hour, but I do think it's fascinating, and it's a rabbit hole you can go down for a long, long time. and never come up
That's fantastic. Like, that's the thing. What I like about conspiracy theories, they're fantastic stories, and a lot of them have some form of merit.
Sure.
I think a lot of people tend to take them a bit too far. Like, you've got the heavy Bigfoot believers.
So here's what's interesting about this.
Take it a little.
Right. We can talk about Bigfoot.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm just jumping in on the Bigfoot train. So Bigfoot's not one that I'm interested in, right? Like, that's just like, I'm kind of like going where you were about to go. Like, it's a bit much, right? That's kind of like one of those corny conspiracy theories. Recently, I saw somebody talk about the video. You know how there's the most famous Bigfoot video where it seems like they've got this fuzzy ape humanoid guy walking through the forest that kind of like looks. Everyone's seen that video. So I watched a couple people that actually study movements of apes and whatnot, and humans, and this guy is essentially saying, I'm not doing this his his breakdown of the video any justice, but long of it is, or short of it is rather, humans can't make this type of movement that this guy is doing, and the costumes that would have been required when the video was shot did not exist. So that just makes that Bigfoot video got a little weirder.
There's a ah, there's a video I've watched quite recently, and it's with Joe Rogan,
Maybe that's the same place I saw it.
and I know he used. Sorry,
Maybe that's where I saw this. Could be.
it's it wasn't that. Essentially, he was saying how for years he was like a Bigfoot believer,
Okay.
and then recently he's like, actually no, it's a bit too far fetched, and he was in a conversation with someone who was all about, oh no, but Bigfoot is real, man. I mean, look at this footage, etc. And he goes, okay, dude, calm the fuck down. It's a guy who went up into the mountains with his friend to dress up as Bigfoot to take the footage,
Right.
and apparently,
Yeah. Now, apparently,
while
people
they
have.
were trying to make fake,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
so while they were trying to make fake footage of Bigfoot, they came across the real Bigfoot.
Oh,
So you've got one guy with a camera, and like, oh shit, it's a real Bigfoot. And you've got a guy dressed up as Bigfoot, like, oh shit, there's Bigfoot.
that's funny. I haven't heard that one. I just heard the recent one was the guy that analyzed the footage, and they're like, "Well, there weren't costumes like that. Like, I'd have to go find this. This type of outfit didn't exist when the video was shot, and the movement that this human, if he's a human, they can't make. We can't make the type of movement with our arms, and the height, the actual proportions of the individual. It doesn't make sense. So." I'm not about to jump into that rabbit hole to see if this guy is right or not any further, but I thought that was interesting enough to like give some merit. Like you said, there's some merit to these things, right? Like there's little bits of truths that make you want to jump in further, but there's some like Bigfoot is one I have to put my foot down on because I just don't buy
So
it.
I do have a follow-up question to this. Of all the conspiracy theories that you've come across thus far,
Yeah.
considering that there's probably another one being created while we speak,
Sure.
which is downright your favourite?
Oh, without a doubt, anything that has to do with Stanley Kubrick. Like there are so many. He is like the king. He is he's my introduction to conspiracy theories, and everything surrounding him is a fascinating and spooky theory, right? So it starts with the moon landing, right? He's the guy that fakes the moon landing footage, and it turns into he tells the world that he did this through The Shining. Then he tells the world about the secret societies in Eyes Wide Shut. And the spooky thing is, after he shows the footage for Eyes Wide Shut, he dies mysteriously 666 days to 2001, which is, of course, 2001 is his most famous movie. I'm giving you like a paraphrased Cliff Note version of a 10-day lecture of how deep we can go into Kubrick vibes. So without a doubt, anything related to him and Eyes Wide Shut, 2001, and The Shining in particular. Although Clockwork Orange is pretty good for MK Ultra. You know, MK Ultra, if you're into musicians and movies, that's the CIA and CIA's involvement in creating musicians and movies and actors and that to push an agenda. Kubrick talks about that in A Clockwork Orange and programming, mind control programming. Yeah, I think he's the one that people overlook a lot, no pun intended. But he's probably the one that has a lot of the most smoke around him.
And that makes I know I've had that one before. And to be I'm not someone who delves in conspiracy theories too much. There was one that I came across once years ago, and I've never found any more information on it again. It was something about the Black Knight satellite, and it was somehow connected to Atlantis in some capacity. I wanted to read more on it. I went off Google, came back, Googled it again. I was like, "There's no information. Where is it?"
Oh, they took it off. They scrubbed it because they don't want you to really know the truth, man. They don't want you to know.
It's all that X-Files stuff.
X-Files is great, man. And you know that a lot of that stuff is based in now that's coming out as truth. Like, so back then, of course, when X-Files was on, they're like, "Oh, haha, Project Blue Book sounds like some X-Files thing." That's a real thing. Like, it's been declassified. It's real. It exists. Like, it's not conspiracy theory anymore. It's funny how that is, right? Like, a lot of times the things that were conspiracy theory, and then, like, 30, 40, 50 years later, oh yeah, no, that was real. That was real. We used to call it a conspiracy theory, but it was real. It's kind of weird. I wonder what will last from this era 50 years later. What was the one that was right this era? Is the Earth flat? I don't know. I don't think so.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's the one that survives. No, it'll be 5G coronavirus. That's the one that we'll find out really happened. That 5G internet is responsible for spreading coronavirus. That's the one that's real.
Yeah, all that coronavirus gives it time to change the batteries and pigeons to
Yes.
keep an eye on us.
Right.
But and no, that's the thing, that it's a theory. It's not fact. I think that's where a lot of the conspiracy nuts tend to go a little bit too far, where it's like, it's fact. It's it's a theory.
So is gravity.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you.
Gravity's a theory. That's the conspiracy theory comeback, though. You're saying you're saying what I'm saying is a theory. Well, gravity's a theory, dude. Yeah. So there.
I mean, when you get down to it, a lot of the things that we are doing, like when you get down to science and so on, I generally always verbalize it incorrectly, so people think I'm absolutely mental. But science, everything that we do in regards to that, everything like that, it's guesswork. In some way, it's guesswork that has been proven to be measurable in some capacity.
Sure.
However, these measurements change sometimes.
Change a lot, man. It's science. So much of science today is unrecognizable even 50 years ago, which is what's fascinating about it. Scientific minds, you can't be rigid, right? You have to be open-minded because things do change, and like new data can come in and completely change the outcome of the equation. That's why I'm fascinated by it, and I'm fascinated by like, that's one thing I like about conspiracy theories is finding those variables that break the equation. That's what's fun about it. So I don't like to be so rigid in the beliefs as I do understanding all the sides of the story. Okay, here's what the enthusiasts think about Roswell. Here's what the skeptics say about Roswell. Here's what people in Roswell say about Roswell, right? You just keep listening to all versus I only listen to what government told me is the official story of Roswell. So I like to hear all of it.
I mean, as they say, there's always three sides to the story. There's their side, there's the truth.
There you go.
Oh, thank you everyone so much for donating to the charity. Thank you so much. Actually, how many do we have until the raffle is on? I've kind of gone off track. Let's see, where is it? I've got too many tabs open. I really need to stop doing that. I've still got like 6 minutes. Or there was a conspiracy theory that came to mind, and it's just all I've gotten is my thought process just left my head and just got an image of the guy, like the crazy hair, being like aliens.
George Tsoukalos, my dude. That's a great show. I mean, obviously they put a little too much, go a little too deep with it, but sometimes it's downright fascinating, right? And inexplicable. But when they're like, we're the founding fathers during Thanksgiving channeling aliens. Yeah, that's when they lose me. They just try to put too much together. That's just not plausible. But overall, I love that show. I'm a
It's
fan.
fantastic. It's all these stories being created, and someone's kind of gone into this headspace of this is connected, and this is connected, and this and this and this and this.
Yeah, I love it. And then but yeah, at a certain point, you can get caught up with it, and then it can stress you out. I have a lot. I have quite a few friends that like go too deep with it, right? And they're your stressed out friends that are constantly posting on Facebook the links. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. There's something I strung together a few months ago, and I feel very clever for doing it. Like sometimes you think of something or you connect something, and you just think you feel quite pleased with yourself. It's quite a small thing, but I'm pleased. I'm pretty pleased. The connection I found was in relation to Seven Strings and a lot of the like 90s like rock and metal scene, which I found a lot of it sort of stems back to Frank Zappa in some capacity. So what comes to mind to it is you've got Frank Zappa, experimental person, yada yada yada. Several years by Steve Vai to become his guitarist. So Frank Zappa being quite a crazy man, the genius that he is, probably rubs off with Steve Vai in some capacity. Steve Vai releases the 7 string, was successful at first, becomes successful several years later, being popularised by bands like Korn and several other new metal and 90s bands. But that's my little thing that I feel pleased about. Like, hey,
Hey, Zappa, keep going further though. Zappa was military and more than likely involved with MK Ultra.
okay,
Zappa's family is military. It's part of the whole like so if you look at MK Ultra and a lot of the rock stars, this is the interesting connection. Their parents are all military. Why? Um Jim Morrison, right? The Doors. His dad, this isn't conspiracy theory. His dad started the Vietnam War. Like, wait a minute, what?
oh
Yeah,
wow,
look it up. At Rear Admiral James Douglas Morrison, Gulf of Tonkin incident, Vietnam War. Son, Jim Morrison. Hendrix, military kid. Zappa, military kid. Like all those quote unquote rock stars are military kids. Why is there a huge rock movement? Rock, stoned age. They want to dumb people down. It's all an experiment, right? That's the whole MK Ultra, psychedelics, the Grateful Dead, hippies, music industry, flood it with drugs, flood it with mind control. We'll all watch and see what happens. These are the stars. What is Beatlemania? The Tavistock Institute and Beatlemania. Man, that shit is all like, why are they all military related? That's what I want to know. Why are they all part of the military?
yeah, that makes sense. It wasn't Henry Rollins' family military as well. And I just think that he was in DC with his mum at the
That's
time.
possible. That's possible. I don't consider him one of the rock stars, though. You know what I mean? I'm talking like these 60s rock stars that were a big part of a huge cultural movement that changed society. this is very deep shit, you know, like very deep. We're talking controlling the world. We're talking who's watching them, who's watching these concerts. Why aren't the Grateful Dead getting arrested for peddling LSD all over the country? Why does Timothy Leary get a pass? Why do all these psychedelic gurus get a pass? Because what are they peddling? Why aren't they in jail? Why are they get to go stand in front of thousands of people instead? Why the Beatles get to sit around and be like, hey man, let's talk about drugs and acid, bro. Why don't we just kill that guy in front of everybody and make them upset and then bring in law and order and throw them all in jail after we've hooked them on drugs? Anyway, I've gone off the deep end. It's about time I get out of
No,
here.
no, that's perfectly fine. I didn't know that. So I'm actually, again, like whether I believe in a conspiracy theory or not, I always find it interesting,
Yes.
and I think that this, I think some of that a lot of people have kind of gone too much on one side, avoid if that makes sense. If someone's got like, say, oh, that person's got an opposing kind of view to me, or
Oh, yeah, people get upset.
oh,
Yeah.
and there's a particular interview that really changed my mind on it a little bit, which was I think it was, again, I'm going back to Tom Morello for some reason. Someone like Tom Morello is friends with Ted Nugent, and there's such polar opposite people, and how do I put it? Like, it's kind of changed my view on like why should people really care that much about what someone's opposing view is, other than, you know, if they're, you know, taking it to like extremism where it's like,
Sure.
oh, I'm trying to kill you, so on and so forth. It's fine to have opposing views and know these people and even get along with these people. There's no issue. I think over the last sort of, we've definitely gotten to a point of huge polarization where you almost have, it's almost at the brink of extremism on both sides, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it can get there, right? Because of like I think I said that earlier about tribalism, and that happens with music, and it can go all the way to worldly issues. I'm more like the mindset of I learn from opposing viewpoints. I also like I don't want everyone to be like me. I don't want everyone to be the same. Um, so this is kind of where, you know, being an American, we are obviously a volatile country at the moment, and there's a lot of eyes on us. I don't share a lot of the political viewpoints that my fellow musicians do. But that's not going to make me like dislike them, or stop listening to them, or argue with them, or not be friends with them. What it does inspire is good. I mean, we'll have like, let's say, for example, Mark Morton from Lamb of God. He and I we're similar on a lot of ends. And then we actually did a test together, right? Because it seems on Twitter, our fans, if you know, ones that don't know any better, they might think he and I are a bicker back and forth, but we just bust each other's balls on there, right? Like we're on the same team, but we're not, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Um, so uh we took a quiz, you know, both of us took the political quiz on like where do we land? You know, what are the differences in our political spectrum just between he and I? And it winds up being like, what do we do with the money? That's it. You know, like I'm more or less a capitalist and into free markets, and he's more into, hey, let's put it all together and be equal. That's really not that big of an argument at the end of the day. But it would seem to so many that our political differences are huge because we're not the same quote unquote color, you know, of like, you know, which part it is, right? Not skin, but like color of party.
It's like a fucking sports team.
It is. That's what I mean. Like music winds up being that way too, right? Like when you're a kid, like, oh, that guy's into this metal band. Well, I like this kind of metal, which is much heavier and it's better. It's like, yeah, it winds up lasting with you your whole life and it just becomes politics then, right? Like, I don't like that guy's Trump shirt. Like, sorry, dude. Like that guy likes Trump. Why does that make you so mad? Why does that make you mad? Right? Like I don't even go that deep with it. It's more or less I think that if I've learned, if anything, that traveling the world, that we are all more alike than we are different. And I could be in Dubai, I can be in Denmark, I can be in Duluth, Minnesota, and it's the same vibe, man. Just people want to have a good time, they want to listen to music, they want to go on with their day, they want to make enough money to survive and eat, and they just don't want to be fucked with. It's that, you know, and I think that's a kind of a general consensus that I've learned. So arguing with people over things of like who they vote for or what sports teams they like or what music genre they listen to, something that maybe had to grow out of, right? You know, over life. Do I get annoyed over political shit? Yeah, who doesn't, right? You know, but I think that's just sometimes you just don't want to be hit with that type of content. So
Of course, no, it completely makes sense. Again, everyone has their own affiliation with what they identify with in a certain degree.
right.
It's the same saying as or was it with religion and penises? Like you can have one, just don't wave it around in front of everyone constantly.
Sure. And then there's a fine line with that too, right? Because like if let's just take the Christmas example, right? We were talking about Christmas and mushrooms. At one point, it's like, well, you shouldn't say Merry Christmas. Why not? Well, because there's some people that don't celebrate Christmas, and they're who gives a fuck? Say Merry Christmas, like, and Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy Satan's Day, or fucking whatever you celebrate. Like, that's where like they start to have the, I guess, the issues, right? When they're trying this cancel culture and trying to stop people from behaving a certain way that is really innocuous. Extremism is one thing. Am I burning a cross in my yard and with a white sheet on my head saying I want to kill every single fucking black person I see? No. You know that's going to get edited, by the way, and like put out on the internet. And am I like, hey man, you know, I want to listen to Baby It's Cold Outside? They're like, some people like there's no difference to them. Like it's equally as evil and bad, and that's like this culture I just don't jive with, man. Like more into
Yeah,
like,
no, that's
just
perfect.
be yourself.
I think both sides. Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think both sides have their own good intentions. I think everything has its own good intention in some capacity. Some parts that just do go over the top, both with PC culture and both with. I'm not sure what the terminology is actually to the other side.
I don't know. Yeah, PC. I understand like being PC and like evolving with specific words and stuff like that, like maybe kids would say versus an adult. Then there's also that fine line of woke, being like too woke. That's what we call it here. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
wokeism is a real like threat to our society and our way of life over here.
I think there just needs to be balance. I think that's something that's currently missing around the world in general. There's not any real balance. There's no real middle point.
Yeah,
There was
I can see that.
there was a video I found of John Cleese actually last night. For those who don't know, John Cleese is one of the Monty Pythons, and I'm not sure if it was actually from a sketch or from something that he was actually, you know, just presenting,
Right.
which is because it's like cancel PC culture versus PC culture going too far. But when you get down to it, an extremist, whether it's on the left, on the right, etc., etc., they're an extremist because their belief makes them think, "Oh, I am right, I am good, and the other side is bad. They're evil. So
Right.
whatever I do, which is in accordance to my belief, to the structure around me, so on and so forth,
Hmm.
that is that is the right way." So if you follow that and you don't divert from that path, so to speak, and say you're whatever you do is like, "Oh, you can harm this person if they believe this." That is fine to you morally. That is fine because you're being told this is correct.
Right. Yeah. And that's where, like, I think being a musician and or someone that travels has the opportunity to travel for their job, getting out of that bubble of your own of your own life is huge to open and expand your awareness of how much humans are very similar, and that tribalism ceases to exist, right? Once you're traveling so much, you don't, like, home doesn't even mean anything. Like, then so your territorial behaviors start to strip away. So that's just interesting stuff, like traveling and how it can change the mindset. And like in America, a lot of times we try to tell teens and the kids to travel abroad and travel to Europe and travel overseas to see what it's like. And I think the thought is to see how it's different and, like, oh, how much better you have it over here or whatever like that. But really, it's a mind expansion and a humbling adventure, and one that is for me is like deepens connectivity.
Exactly, because once you're more worldly, once you have a bit more open, you can understand another person's point of view, how they think, how they feel, because it all comes down to how you were raised, the environment around you, which 9 times out of 10 determines how you turn out.
Sure.
Sometimes your brain's just wired in a particular manner that's
Yeah, yeah.
just
You're a mad dog.
out.
Nothing you can do about it. Abby normal.
Exactly.
Do you know that reference?
Okay.
I don't know. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Abby normal. Abby someone.
Oh, normal.
No, it was young Frankenstein. They go to get him a brain, and Igor gets the wrong brain, and he's supposed to get a brain of a scientist, but he's somebody named Abby Normal. Anyway, I digress.
Brilliant. Okay, so before we continue, as we are going into calls and fantastic conversations, before I forget,
Do your
we are
contest here,
going to
yeah.
do.
You can do the contest
Sorry,
thing, the giveaway.
I'm going to do the giveaway for the Perilla EPs. So for the two that are being done now, and there's three being done on my next stream with my other half at 7 a.m. GMT. So we're doing the first two Perilla ones. So let us pick a winner. Are we ready? I said, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let us pick a winner. We have Mrs. Metal 666. You're winning a copy of. Oh, you can't actually see this. Yeah, a copy of one of these EPs. But I will message you for the address later on. That's fine, Joel. There will be another one throughout this next hour to win a signed copy from Chimaira Mark. And the second winner will be DJ Remedy. You're getting another copy of Dance for Messiah. I know, I know, it's completely and utterly rigged, isn't it? Okay, let me just get the names down. Okay.
I haven't checked out the chat. I'm looking through Discord. Any good questions or stuff in the chat? But hello to all the chatters out there.
There's not really been any questions thus far. Guys, there are questions that you guys can ask that you want me to ask Mark at all. Okay, so I'm just going to set up the Mark giveaway. One moment. What time is it now?
Digestive
So
biscuits.
I
just opened the chat. Digestive biscuits. That was the one crazy thing we'd always eat over in England. I'd be like, yeah, man, I need some digestive biscuits, brother. Fuck, man, you better put some more of that in my rider so I can digest better.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so we've still got 40 minutes for the giveaway.
Get some tea and crumpets, mate.
And I see, because I'm not actually British, I'm not that particularly fond of a lot of British foods.
You're not British. What the fuck are you? You sound very British to me.
I'm Swiss German.
How the fuck do you sound British?
My dad's English.
Okay.
I'm like half British, but I was born in Switzerland. I didn't move here until I was 12.
It sounds like, do you ever see the movie The Naked Gun? Dutch Irish. My father was from Wales. Never mind.
Yes, I have seen that.
Dutch Irish. Father was from Wales. Makes no sense.
Okay, guys, the giveaway is open now. It should be. One second. Entries. There we go. It's actually letting me do it now. Yep. So for Chimaira Mark's merch, to put down. Yep. It's right there. Okay. Sorry. Yes, we were talking about political influence and influence around you as a person while you grow up and during your formative years.
I can see a lot of that being a big thing. And then also a lot of people want to break out from their environment too, right? You don't like your environment. I didn't mind my environment though. I had a good environment. It wasn't like I need to break away. That happens for a lot of people. Like Eminem, for example. He didn't like his environment. He hated his environment, so he did something about it. That's kind of what I mean.
Oh, and that's fantastic. I mean, you find ways to break away from an environment that you yourself consider toxic or non-beneficial to yourself as a person or an individual.
I hear that.
I know a lot of people currently trying to move from the UK due to the current situation.
Trying to Brexit?
Yes, the thing that sounds like a cereal.
Exactly. I don't know much about it, man. I'm not even going to pretend to know anything about politics abroad. I don't know anything about it. I just know the word Brexit. That's the extent of it. And your guy has funnier hair than our guy.
I think they both just look like brothers, to be honest.
They do. They look related. I just think that, you know, your dude's hair is just a little more messed up than ours. That's about the extent of it. He doesn't comb it, you know?
Yeah,
Boris needs to comb that shit. That's it's not that hard.
I don't think he's ever seen a comb in his life, to be honest.
He just needs to, you know, I take a comb to my shit. I have carpet hair. My hair looks like a carpet. And I even take a comb to it. I just, you know, just brush it.
No, all our guy does is not brush his hair and he rugby tackles small kids.
Oh, all right. We're gonna get into the elites and their children touching. I think this you know, we might get banned from Twitch. You're really gonna make me.
There is actually a video of Boris Johnson rugby tackling a child in like a friendly rugby match.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I'll take the
It's
I'll
just
take the
funny
hat
because
off,
he's
and
just a very humorous person.
we'll divert this conversation. Then I'll go somewhere else with it. So yeah, how about Manchester United?
Yeah, football. The thing is, even though I live in the UK, I am not someone who follows sports at all. That then I'm going into conspiracy theory myself, whereas like all sports are paid off. It's all diverted to gambling. It's not really sport because there's no sportsmanship. Yada yada yada.
Aha!
And it's
I
just a
know that.
general mentality that I'm not a particular fan of.
I'm not too particular about sports either. I enjoy playing the games, either like on video games or in real life. But watching them, I tend to get a little bored, and I don't follow anything because then that's just I don't have time. Into way more nerdier things than that. But and I have some friends that are like Rain Man. They know like all the stats. They know like can like predict who's gonna win, and they gamble, and they have the fantasy leagues. They're all in. So if I ever need a sports question, I'm glad I have friends like that, because then I'll know who to reference. And that kind of goes into
There's
the point of like we were talking about of why I like not everyone being the same, is you need that diversity in life, man. I want that guy that's like the expert. I want that friend that is the expert in left politics. I want that friend that's the expert in right politics. I want that friend that hates everything to do with politics. I want the QAnon friend that is like, oh, here they come. They're going to arrest every politician. I want to learn from all those people, and get their perspective. So, and it's the same thing with um, just random shit like this that we're talking about. It's good to have that variety in your life.
exactly, and that is definitely something that is. I think that this is something that a lot of people do benefit from generally, as long as you as long as you or the other individual don't go looking for an argument
Right, right,
and
right,
are
right.
able to have a constructive conversation, it's a healthy thing to have.
Absolutely. They're fun conversations to have. It's fun to have, I think, too, if when you have friends that are like in like very like experts in specific fields too. You like it's good, like good to like see like how they got to that point, right? Into the dedication to their craft. Like wow, that dude, like how does he know so much about that sport or whatever? And then you come to find out like, they've been playing it since they were like 3 or something, crazy.
Exactly, and it's like again, everyone has their own interests as well. Some people love sports, some people love model trains.
Yeah. I don't like model trains.
I don't either. I've had a godfather who loved model trains. He would
There
just
you go.
take me to like train museums and things like, oh, aren't they fascinating? I was like, just sitting there thinking, I fucking hate trains. Why are you taking me
Right,
here?
right,
I'm
right, right.
11
Yeah.
years old.
Right, 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 right. Yeah. Never got into the trains. Hey, you know a train expert, and now if you are ever in a situation, you probably have this like weird train knowledge, right, of certain things, and you found yourself in a position where you've like had the answer to a random train question. I don't know if that's ever happened, but that's tends to happen to me. Like I'll go to some random place and learn some random fact, and then like I wind up using it like 6 months later.
I've had that with cars. Like I only started driving last year after many, many failures. Might I add. I've never been interested in cars. I can appreciate a nice car. I'm not someone who's like, oh, I need to have a nice car, or I would never pay out for an expensive car, so on and so forth. However, there's people I know who are massive gearheads, and from time to time, there's a question I'll ask them, like, "What can I do here? Because it says here it'll cost me so much to repair this." And that person will tell me, "Oh, just punch it once, you're good."
Right, 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 right. Yep, that's it. You got it.
So Yes, that was the other thing. I just realised I've not actually written that question down. You're quite a Funko Pop enthusiast, aren't you?
Yeah, I have way too many at the moment. Building my collection, which is great, and I'm grateful for it. But I'm moving at the moment, so that was like a big thing to pack up. So I packed up boxes and boxes and boxes of them. Still have a few here, but I'm excited for the new place to get them all on display. And kind of, it's crazy seeing them all together and put back in the boxes, like because I had them spread all out all over our place, so you don't really have a grasp on how much you have. And then, like, once we started packing it all up, it was like, oh man, we have a problem. We look like hoarders.
So what is your fascination with Funko Pop? Is it exactly?
I don't know what happened that sparked it. I thought, I think first, of course, the fact that the company really is all about what is like their motto, like everyone is a fan of something. Um, they really do know how to hit their, fans. If you're a fan of a specific thing, they know how to know how to hit you in that soft spot. It's like marketing genius. Yeah, I'm just like a movie culture geek, and they tend to cater to people like us. And um virtually every movie I'm a huge fan of, they make a Funko for. TV show, same thing. Music. There's so much comics, everything I grew up on, basically, they have. And a big thing that I like about it is the culture, and how it's never ending. Just when you think you've discovered like a whole, like, oh, okay, there's this whole section of Funkos, then you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even know that these other 10 existed, in that same community. Um, so that's cool. The discovery of it all, nostalgia and novelty, right? They blend the perfect combination. Mainly got into it because I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and that's of course like a thing that was like hard to hear. Luckily, like procedure and removing it was simple for me. In the end, and I no longer have it. But to help battle the mental health aspect, I thought going out and Funko shopping, like trying to just find stuff, find Funko Pops in the wild, was a really good use of uh, my time and energy. Kept me in a positive headspace and like totally something new that I hadn't done in a long time. Toy collecting was something I did when I was growing up, so it kind of got me back into that again. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. You could go to like so many different stores and like, oh shit, they have this one. Oh shit, I didn't know this one existed. Oh fuck, there's that. And not even have to necessarily having to buy them. You can just go and like window shop and like discover that instead of just sitting on the internet. Like that's the easy too. You can find what exists, but there's something about going and shopping for them that makes it a lot of fun, and that helped me with the darker times. Now it's more like an obsessive compulsive time that I need to remedy, or do I?
That's actually a good story. It's so nice. Like it's something so tiny, something so sweet was able to just make you feel better in what most which most people consider a nasty time, to put it mildly, of course.
Mhm.
So it's fantastic that something like that is able to bring you happiness like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's fun to go out and just look at that stuff, and a lot of time passes, and you're like, oh shit, there's that.
I mean, window shopping is an experience in itself, which I feel is something that is going to be lost in the next few years.
Yeah, it's pretty
Because just
much
online
lost.
shopping,
Yeah, I know.
I was like, window shopping is fantastic. I remember years ago where you could just walk around in a high street or a market, and you'll find something unique. You'll find something you think, "Oh, I'm not gonna find that anywhere else. I'm going to get this because I know I can't get it anywhere else."
Right.
And
Yeah.
now you can go to a store and you're like, "Yeah, I can find that there cheaper."
Yeah. There, and plus, of course, with the excuse me, COVID and lockdowns, a lot of that has discouraged people from wanting to window shop, and things have closed down because of that. So uh, it's no fun. So gotta take advantage of it while you can.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. It's just a shame because it's an experience that I personally really enjoyed. I know it's not economical in the sense of, but there's more ways, there's more buildings being used, there's this, and this. So, yeah, but such a nice experience. It's the same as with CDs and vinyl. Oh, CDs and vinyls aren't really relevant anymore because you can stream everything. Yeah, but vinyl has that feel. It's big. You can read everything. You can hear all the crackles. You hear the
Right.
best quality of it. Unless they can actually finally, put music into water. So it's like the purest form of sound.
Yeah, I totally appreciate the physical, like why people enjoy the physical copy, and I personally am over it, but that's just because I was a traveling musician and from the early 2000s. So I went from being like, wait a minute, I have to bring in this giant CD book with me on tour in the van. Now I got this thing called an iPod. Like, I never wanted to see a CD ever again just because of the convenience of it all. So I don't share the same love for physical copies that the fans do in my own profession. But I do make sure that when we create something, that I'm in the mentality of the fan and the person that's actually going to be consuming it. I don't think I have any physical copy CDs anymore, with the exception of like my own, and they're tucked away somewhere. Not tucked like the guy from Silence of the Lambs. Um, yeah,
Buffalo Bill.
yes, they're tucked though. So yeah, but I don't have any DVDs either. Um, I sold all those years ago. Now I'm more like complete streaming guy on that front as well. Um, so it's funny, but toys, I like holding those and looking at those still.
I completely understand you with that. I used to have a relatively sized CD collection. I just sold them in bulk because I knew I was never going to use them. I have Spotify.
Right.
I know there's the whole, artists not getting paid as much. It's so convenient.
Yeah, it's the convenience, man. You can't. If I could just like have it downloaded, bloop, and fine, give it to me. Give me that neural link or whatever, and just put it all, tap into my damn brain, and let's go. I don't even.
But I have fantasized about this a few times where one day you can just literally have a computer in your eye
Yeah, I think
and you can
that's
just literally just go through the web, do everything that you want, watch everything you want from that one eye.
fuck you, asshole. Like, yeah, we'll have our replies come up just like the Terminator. That's the one I'll choose.
Everything will be like cyberpunk. That is the future.
Yes.
Except there'll be less bugs and it will actually work.
Yeah, I heard it was glitchy. I don't know. But yeah, that's unfortunate. No one likes a glitch.
It's very glitchy on consoles, PC. I've not really had any issues with it personally. I think that's really bad. Just general problems that you get with games anyway, like things not loading and so on and so forth.
Hmm. Oh, I have to check it out though. I hear a lot of good things about it, and being a huge Blade Runner fan, everyone says that I'd be way into it. So
Definitely, I think it's something that's definitely worth sitting on until like a year or so after, because the game they did before, The Witcher 3, was broken when it came out anyway.
got it, got it,
And I
got it.
think it took like a year and a half for them to get that right. So I'm in no rush to finish it at all. I thought loads of other games that I need to finish myself anyway.
Right on.
I still need to finish reading 1984.
I'm sorry?
I still need to finish reading 1984 by George Orwell. I seem to have this habit of I'll start reading a few chapters, I'll leave it for a few months, go back onto it, leave it for a few months, and I'll just go back to it. It's a weird cycle with that.
I have a hard time reading books. Like um it's just like a sleep aid for me. If I have I'm wired and I need to go to bed, I should just read something. It just for whatever reason, it puts me to sleep.
Okay, I think I've definitely been reading a lot less simply because I've had more access to my phone and my laptop and all my digital stuff.
Yeah.
I've read over the last year. I've definitely got. I've always been a very lazy person, but once I started really getting my things into making music in a band, so on and so forth, I've become a lot more productive. Like right now, all I'm doing is Twitch, music, podcast, and that takes a majority of my time. And I'm much happier being like that than on my ass 24/7.
I hear you. Yeah, no doubt, man.
With the actually with music, what is it that made you? What is it that made it sort of click in your head? That you said, "I want to be a musician."
Uh, I kind of started off that way. I think it's DNA. My father was a musician, and I was just born into it. So, I think though, like what made me want to do it professionally was seeing Machine Head. I was like, man, I kind of want to do a band like that, and saw them live, and I was like at an age where I was already kind of starting my own bands in school and whatnot, and that was the kind of the like the push me off the ledge moment.
So what that was at a live show, correct?
Excuse me.
And that was at a live Machine Head show.
Yeah, correct. 95, like they toured with Slayer.
Because that would have been really okay. That would have been my eyes, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was their first tour. Well, first like
It's,
big run with Slayer. Yep, first album. Very first tour. Like it was like their second tour though, second or third.
what I find really fascinating is just a general stretch of metal because everyone thought, oh, metal's going to die out after a certain amount of time, like my Shaunus did. It's kind of become cross generational. As you said, you really got into Machine Head from Burn My Eyes. I got into Machine Head during their Black record days, which I think that was kind of like a big revival. I mean, that's what really catapulted them.
Yeah.
I just metal as a genre is just so fascinating.
Was it an age thing for you? Is that why you got into them, or did you get them into the because of the revival?
Um, so I've always been surrounded by music, rock music to some degree. Like I've liked Dio, I've liked all these different bands. But just one day, I clicked with Black Label Society. So I'm starting to listen to all these records, and then suddenly, I think I found a review on Metal Hammer, and I found in the local record store The Blackening. I think it was like a special edition, and it was on sale. I thought I really like the cover of this. Lots of people keep saying it's a great record, so I listened to it. I think I saw them live first when they were doing it. I thought, oh, I really love the energy of that. I got so lost in the energy that I didn't remember the actual song.
Sure, of course.
I was just like, I just love the general energy of the crowd, the band, everything. I gave it a go. I was like, "Oh, this is a great record. This is one of the best records I've heard."
Man, great band, great live band, one of the best to do it. They've been doing it for a long time too, 25 years plus.
They definitely have. Speaking of Metal Hammer, the first time I was actually that I was shown any attention towards your band, because I was quite new to metal at the time, about 15, 16. Every month would buy Metal Hammer, and one day I got this copy that has this Chimaira record on, is The Age of Hell. And honestly, Year of the Snake is such a cool song.
Which song? Oh, You're the Snake. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's just so catchy and just everything I love about metal.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that was a cool thing with Metal Hammer. We were in a weird spot because we were in between record labels, and leaving Roadrunner, and Roadrunner also kind of dismantling the UK left a weird hole for us in that specific point in time where we didn't really have, we had a label, but they didn't have the type of presence to get. Roadrunner UK was a massive, massive entity, and they were really integral in breaking all of their bands. They had a real strong foothold in it, and without that behind us, we definitely needed to do something out of the box that would get our music into the hands of a lot of new people, and without touring. So I don't remember whose idea it was, but whoever came up with the idea was that we would have Metal Hammer release our album with an issue of their magazine. So people in the UK essentially got our album for free. It's weird to think of it that way because, you know, everywhere else in the world is buying it. You're still buying the magazine, of course, but really wasn't going to be any other option for people to buy our album anyway in the UK because of the way things were with record labels and our new one, and the way the music industry was changing. It's difficult to talk, not difficult to talk about, but difficult to like put into perspective because we were releasing albums in eras when the music industry was like going through its changes, and a lot of times we fell victim in a weird way to those changes. Example, when we put out The Infection, record stores start disappearing, so we're in the middle of that era. We're like, we're not selling as many CDs, we're not shipping as many CDs, not shipping as many CDs because there's not as many record stores anymore. There's not as many record stores anymore because people aren't buying CDs anymore. Well, why are we making CDs in the first place? People still want music. They're still accumulating music. It's just in different ways, and the world hasn't figured it out quite yet in the time frame that we're in. So yeah, that's how that happened. It was like the UK and us changing record labels put us in a very unique position to not really have an album be able to come out in the UK unless we teamed up with somebody.
Yeah, and I completely understand what you mean with this, because I grew up around the end of the CD era.
Sure.
I still bought CDs and still bought singles. In my early teens, they started phasing out singles, and you could only get albums. I think by the age of 19, you didn't really have the selection of albums like you should have done. I'd go to my local record store and I'd be like, "Oh, I want to buy this record." That's not available. But
Right.
there's also not the online availability like you have now, so I couldn't just order it online either.
Yeah, I know that. I remember that
And
era too. Hmm.
yeah, it is a very, very weird time because I think you had I think you also had the explosion of gent metal as well, which was very is because you had this whole new genre of metal, which is very distinct in sound. But because of the time these bands came about, there was no way for them to capitalize on the music that they were creating other than, yeah, you've got exposure. We're paying you in exposure, which, right, but
Right.
that's not going
Yeah,
to put
yeah,
food
yeah.
on the table.
Yeah. There's a meme, that old wagon trail meme, "You have died of exposure." That that's exactly how it feels. That's every artist though. Like we went through that type of stuff too. And even as a photographer later in life, that's the same kind of thing. Like, oh, can you come photograph my business? I'll put you in this free. I'll give you a free ad in this magazine no one will ever pick up and read. Like, no. Here's how it's gonna work. You're gonna pay me, then I'll take the photos for you, and then that's how it works, right? You don't go into Starbucks and be like, "Why don't you give me some free coffee, and I will write a good review for Starbucks in my magazine." Like, that's not how life works, man. Like, I don't understand why people think art and artists are any different than any other business and shouldn't be treated as such, right? You don't. Um, but I get the artist mentality. You're like thinking to yourself, like, music is meant to be free and heard, and the world is supposed to experience it. Unfortunately, you're not going to eat if that's the way you think. So there's got to be this balance, right? And so it's unfortunate that the consumer is like, hey, I would rather spend $8 at McDonald's than buy your album. That's kind of where it went to for a long time. That's also in retaliation, not so much to the bands, but to the record labels. The record labels kept charging more and more for the product. Once things started going to the internet, they're like, well, shit, we're losing money. We're going to raise the prices. Wrong move, right? Because then the CDs are $19.99 at a shopping mall, and no one's going to buy it for $19.99. You're going to go download it and steal it on the internet. That's exactly what was happening in the early 2000s. Um, so I think that's the retaliation. And Apple kind of makes music worthless in a weird way, right? They're like, yeah, songs are worth $1. Why is that the price? Now is that's this, that's kind of became the Apple's like, yeah, songs are $1, albums are $9.99. $7.99 day they were released. Whoa, costs a lot more to make this fucking album, but then they're setting the prices. So yeah, it's a big complex business with a lot of people's hands in it. And at the end of the day, the artist just wants enough to make music and eat.
You just want to live with it. That's
Yeah,
all you
exactly.
want. You just want to do something that you actually enjoy doing.
Correct. And that is very, very, very hard to do because
Uh,
so many hands have gone into the cookie jar and manipulated how that cookie jar even functions to begin with.
And nobody knows how it functions. Um, I'm nobody. And like in the eyes of the music industry, I'm nobody. I know that. I'm perfectly aware
You're
of
the
that.
consumer. You are the
I'm very
dollar.
much,
Yeah, you're the dollar. You're the fun. You are funneling it in a way.
yeah. But I've interviewed several bands. I speak to several bands, um, similar levels, slightly higher up from me. And what I find so disheartening, and I completely understand why they think like that and talk like that. Some of them will create great music, and they'll simply say it's a hobby. I'm never going to turn this into a career. And the naive part of me will think, but if you don't try, you're never going to realize that in any capacity. And yeah, I am a dreamer, certainly, but I am a realistic dreamer.
Mhm.
And I think that it's find that middle point. But there is you can still make a living from the arts. You just need to figure out how to do it. No one has quite done it. You just need to find your way around it. Nobody knows, so you can't ask anyone. It's kind of like how it was back 70, 80 years ago to a certain degree, because not everyone knew how it worked. Everything was word of mouth, so you didn't have the internet, you didn't have information. There's lots of information that now you've got too much information that you can't quite rely on, so you don't know which is right, which is wrong,
Right.
what to go for, etc., etc., etc. I could go on to this discussion for hours, but we only have a few more minutes.
Yeah, no,
And
I hear you.
personally,
That's a good point. As a musician, that I get asked a lot in 2021. I'm a young artist. What do I do to? I can't give you an answer in 2021 because the landscape is so different. I don't even know in 2021 how to, um, you know, I couldn't do that for myself, let alone help a younger artist. And my era was a complete trial and error, but you said the thing right away that it doesn't matter what year you're in. If you don't try it, you're not gonna even know. So you have to like make that effort and just go for it and figure it out. And what are the steps? And you'll find answers. Okay, I left the music industry, and I'm like, well, now what the fuck am I going to do? So I went into photography, and I liked photography just like I liked music. I like taking pictures of stuff that makes me feel cool, just like writing a song. I like sharing it with people for free, just like music. Oh shit, now I need to eat. Now what? I have to sell this product. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how about going about and making a career as a photographer. I don't know if I'm good enough, blah, 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 blah. So I could have stopped right there and had that like I'm just going to be a hobbyist photographer, or I could just dive in and go for it. And I'm like 6 years now into my photography business. So, and I've been able to keep it afloat and make a career out of it and thrive. And so, had I not, tried it at least, then I would have never known to begin with. So, um, same goes with music. If you're a young aspiring musician, instead of asking like, somebody who's done it already, kind of maybe think of the fact that the game has already changed. So you're going to have to take the matters into your own hands.
yeah, no, that's no, that's exactly it. And I think we are reaching 3 a.m.
Is
and
it 3 a.m. for you?
yeah, it's 3
Holy
a.m.
fuck, man.
I've been up
Didn't even
since like
realize that.
7 a.m.
I'm like
I'm
half
staying up
half
for the whole
asleep at
thing.
10 p.m. I'm an old man. How the fuck you up at 3 a.m.?
Energy drinks, lots of energy drinks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's really cool that you guys are doing all this, and I hope that it goes the whole raffle is a success for everyone involved. And appreciate that you guys had me a part of it, and cool to hang out.
Thank you so much for coming on. I seriously appreciate it. And as well, I appreciate as well that it's quite late for you. Just before I let you go, I'm just going to do the raffle now.
Sure, yeah, do for it.
Okay. All right. Are we ready, everyone? Picking the winner, and it is DJ Remedy. He's won two things. All right.
Rigged election, man. You
Um.
guys have rigged elections out by you too, huh?
I wish I could even say that, but that's not even true.
I know, I'm just fucking around. I'm being an asshole. Hey, thank you
Um.
though for
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll get the details and I'll send them over to you via Discord.
Yeah, send me the details, and that would be great.
Right, perfect. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, Mark. Seriously appreciate it. Thank you everyone that has donated thus far. I'm still in awe with the fact that we have completely smashed our target,
That's great.
continuing to do so several hours in. We are going to raid into Kitty in a moment if she is on. Whether everyone thank Mark Hunter for coming on to the show. Give him a
Raw.
follow on Twitch. And everyone have a wonderful evening. And once again, thank you so much for coming on, Mark.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. There you go, Metal Ed. That one's off for you, brother. You guys get some
Brilliant.
sleep
Thank
though,
you so-
man. I know you're not supposed to sleep, but you should try sleeping on this stream, and like that be a part of the whole 24-hour thing. Think that would go over? Like just watching you sleep?
Probably. There's probably some kind of niche for that.
Yeah, I guarantee there is, and we got to find it. All right, everybody. Thank you for
Exactly.
hanging out. Those of you guys that hung out, and we're gonna go eat some late night dinner, and you guys have a great one.
See you, man. Have a great evening. Bye.
Care.